Well, you are now. And then just take it out.
Yeah, sure. Perfect, thanks. Sorry, I'll leave you in. Yeah, there you go. It's quite snug in here, isn't it?
A lot further away than expected.
Okay, perfect. Good evening, everybody. So, good evening and welcome to the IWS's 15th anniversary year. Yeah, go on, Billy, come on. Thank you. So, hello to everyone who's joining us in the room and wins, and to everyone that is online. And what better way to celebrate the 15th anniversary than to taste the samplings and the bottlings and the liquid that's been key to the past 15 years. So I'm delighted to have Michael Slevin today, John Sheary, we have Conor Ryan from Pierce Lyons, and we have our very own President Brian, and Liam as well from the Cask Committee as well, just to talk through a couple of the sample offerings and go through some kind of stories along the way of the times through the Irish Whisky Society. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Michael, who's going to talk through the Lochs Grand Cru.
Thank you. You can pass those along there. Each side of the table or whatever. Sorry. So I need to tell the adjudicator, like the hook, bring it out to pull me back. This is more a story of a bottling than a story of the whiskey inside the bottle. So feel free to taste and smell as you go on. I'll try and keep this really short, okay? But I happened to be big into whiskey around the late 90s, 2000s. Used to have these monster tastings in the house. I think the biggest, I had 73 open bottles on the table, 2 tables, and 100 people in the house. And it went on till 5 a.m. So the Irish Whisky Society came to the rescue. We started in 2009, but also I happened to be the webmaster for the Inland Waterways Association of Ireland. So basically canals, boats, barges, the Shannon, all that type of stuff. So around 2007, Lochs, you might know, is 1757 founded. And I thought, Cooley are doing, anybody from Cooley? Past? No? So Cooley were doing nothing to celebrate, allegedly, the oldest distillery on the planet, oldest continuous licensed distillery, etc., in 1757. So I literally rang Cooley and said, I have a boat going into Dublin. Can I take a cask of whiskey into Dublin, please? And they told us, they took a look at my boat, my fifth of a boat, and said, no, we're too busy. So 2009, a lot of stars came into alignment. The Irish Whisky Society had started. I was at a fellow's 60th birthday and happened to be sitting beside the head of the chief bottle washer for the heritage boats, the old Grand Canal boats, and said, this was my mad idea. He said, I'll sort you out with the boat. And I said, what about the whiskey? He says, should the pair of them in Cooley, in Kilbeggan Distillery, she's the head of Offaly Inland Waterways Association, and he has a barge called 107B that he's trying to get going. So they should be receptive. And they dragged me over to them at another table, and she said, put it in writing. So we put it in writing. And the idea was that the Whisky Society would select a couple of whiskies, or select a cask, and we would, some boat would take it into Dublin, and that was the end of it, and we bottle it, and it'd be that'd be grand. And the reason 2009 or the canal was important for me was some of you know Kilbeggan, it's the obvious place, but there are 2 distilleries here in Dublin on the canal. Marrowbone Lane was at the end of the canal, and you had another one in the basin, Grand Canal Basin. So all the coal for the distilleries came in by canal, and all the whiskey. And we had this lovely photograph, run ahead. That was P&H Egan's barge heading towards, actually that's in Clondalkin, 1950, 1952, I think it is. But 1959, CIE said we're shutting down the distillery, or shutting down the canal to commercial traffic. And we said, well, hey, if we had the bargemen, the boatmen actually is the right name for them, are meeting, the retired boatmen, let's give them a bottle of this whiskey that we bring into Dublin. And it'll be great crack. And so basically, there's a description of a 4-hour tasting on the Whisky Society forum. It's still there, with all these photos, by the way, most of them anyways. So we basically spent 4 hours ruminating over what whiskies to bottle. In the end, we picked cask, I think 696 by one vote over cask 700, but we kept Hyman and Horn. That's why it took 4 hours. So in the end, we said we'll bottle both. We'll do both of them, and that's what we did. So basically, Cooley, the marketing manager, Bernadette, I wanted to call it something like the boatman, but she said Grand Cru, CREW, that's what we call it. And I said, perfect, you're on. And basically, we got, so John Teeling turned up, thought it was a great idea. We got out some old tools, sealed casks, brought them by vintage truck to a dry harbour in Kilbeggan. We took it then by horse and cart. The cart, it was his first outing, and the first time the horse, the Clydesdale, ever pulled that cart, I think was 3 days beforehand. The idea was we were going to pull it on a sledge along the canal. So anyways, the horse was up for it. Grand. We had an armed escort from the local hunt. This is Brian Quinn. It's going around the photos there, but he basically came along with a case of cask strength whiskey, and it was been drunk by the neck. What the hell was his name? There was people really in a sad state at the end of that. The cask was stolen by another barge going into Dublin to meet three men in a boat. So there was a barge called 45M, a Bollinger engine and all the rest of that. So that was heading in to get the three lads. So they took the cask for a bit. And then we got the Lord Mayor out too, because one of the head of Dublin Inland Waterways was Dublin City Council, and very good terms. So the Lord Mayor came out to welcome us into Dublin. And members of the society came along for the day. We had an open invite, come and join us on the barge and come into Dublin on the barge. Very few people get a chance to do that. So, great day. Taste, I hope you're all tasting this whiskey. This is Jim Murray's notes on the whiskey. So I don't know what if you're getting it as well. So you're drinking cask 700. We send around a bottle, or it's gone around, has it? Yep. Okay, so anybody want to say anything about it? If you go and look on the Inland Waterways Forum, geez, I really am going back in time. The Whisky Society Forum, you'll see debate, will we get bottles? Hold on, Ali is going to be selling some in the Celtic Whisky Shop. That's not fair. What if we want? So in the end, everybody got, I think, if they wanted it, they got 2 bottles from each cask. And to tell you how small the society was, in the end, it was 180 bottles went to the society. 104 and 87, so add that up, that's 190 or whatever. So I still have all the records, and there's people still owe me money. No. So any comments? No? For those of you who are familiar with Irish whiskey, I suspect most of you, this is very much a cask strength Tyrconnell. It's basically a cask strength Tyrconnell, right? It's very much from that stable. All of them were, the 6 samples we had were ridiculously different. There were some, but we all agreed 3 were appalling and shouldn't have been let out of the warehouse, and definitely were headed for Lidl. And then 3 we had a debate about, really 2 stood out, and we were very happy to get them. And the last thing I'll maybe say is, in October, we had a tasting of the Grand Cru plus against the Tyrconnells, all the different cask finishes. And that's the size of a Whisky Society outing in 2009. And actually, I recognize it, obviously I recognize faces there, but there's about 10 people there who have nothing to do with the society. They were barge, boaty type people. Right? Now, that wasn't a particularly well-attended one, because it was October, and I think a lot of people had already had it by the neck from various bottles. But the the other thing as well is these were the retired barge people. So each of them got a box, basically a bottle of whiskey, which made, normally you're given a little dido that gathers dust. So it was great to be able to give them something that meant something to them. And for those of you how many people have ever tasted this stuff before? Okay, and how many people have a box of it, or had a box? Okay, so you'll be familiar. Your box is a pale whitey type box. These guys got the elm boxes, right? So these were like a mahogany type thing. I think I bought 30 of them boxes, and they were a ridiculous price, and they were etched. But the society got its first cask, so everybody was happy. We literally had the Whiskey Society was happy because we had no money. The Heritage Boat Association were happy because they got to exercise their boats. The Kilbeggan Harbour Restoration Group, the Inland Waterways Association, basically loads of people. Oh, and the first bottle to be auctioned, when we were leaving Kilbeggan, 1,200 motorbikes went through on a cancer motorbike run. So we had to get out. Part of our timing was to get out before these 1,200 motorbikes came through. But we gave them a promissory note for a bottle, which they did get, and it was auctioned for €280 in 2009. So that was not bad at all. It didn't make that price again at auction for about 20 years, 10 years. Yeah, exactly. And that's really the last thing. Because 2009 was a shite year, publicity was, we were in the Irish Times, TG Cahir, Westmeath, all the newspapers had articles. So I don't know if anybody joined the Whiskey Society because of it, but who knows? That's it. And last but not least, the forum still has stuff on the first cask, and full descriptions of all the things and loads of photographs and all the rest of it.
Great, lovely. Thanks a million. So now we're moving on to the 10-year-old Carcavelos. Don't make the mistake that I made and think it was Calvados, because it involves in a lot of rerunning of printing of tasting mats. No, true story. But yeah, so the interesting thing about the Carcavelos is it is based on a fortified wine and a vineyard area, a white port, just based outside of Lisbon. And at the time that we would have been getting the casks for this, and it would have been bottled, it was down to just 2 producers in the area. It was getting very limited, and a lot of vineyards were being sold for land and apartment as Lisbon was expanding. So it really kind of was rare to get the hands on it. And it's now expanded. I think the Department of Agriculture saw that they were missing something out and decided to invest and kind of revitalise the Carcavelos in the area. So as it's kind of, I think it's in the area of around Cascais near Lisbon as well. So it's seaside as well, and it's mostly limestone. So what you're meant to be kind of nosing and also tasting is a kind of level of kind of chalky minerality. And then as well, depending on, you could taste kind of fresh stone fruit, and then there's also kind of a nutty level, which would be in a lot of ports as well. So I don't know what is anyone tasting either in the room or online? Yeah, given that I'm kind of late to the party on this one and I'm going off tasting notes, if anyone has any kind of stories or around at the time or wants to offer anything to do with the bottling of it. Yeah, it's the mystery one, yeah.
This is the bottle that just arrived in the cellar one day.
Yeah. But most importantly, do we like it? Yeah.
This is single malt, right? Yeah.
Yeah, single malt. Yeah.
It will be poorly smoked as well.
Yeah, it would be, yeah. So there is kind of a level of freshness as well, but there's a denseness, almost like the port that it would be, but it's kind of lifted up. So, yeah. Great, lovely. And now that we've kind of had a tasting of that, so it's generally got a Good approval all round, and we all remember that it's not Calvados. Carcavelos. I know I'm probably butchering the Portuguese as well, so apologies if anyone's a fluent speaker. I am going to hand over to John about the Kilbeggan.
Thanks, Ellie. Ooh. We have the camera lens there. Greetings. Good to see a number of people that I haven't seen for a number of years, and there was some good reason for that. We had the pandemic just as I finished the presidency, and that was winding down. And then I got COVID myself and lost my taste buds for a year plus. So I was out of business for about 3 years there. But the 10-year was the one we had at our 10-year anniversary gala party at Clontarf Castle. Many of you would have gone to. We had a great night that night, so that was a lot of fun. And everybody enjoyed it, but it was a good pick, still is. So, but anyway, I talk a little bit about the 8-year-old here. I'm not going to get too much into the tasting notes. You can all read that, but I thought a little back story might be interesting. I'll try to keep it a little bit short and sweet. But it was the first time that we bottled something of our own cask. It was our own self-bottling, and I was the guy doing it. And it was sort of like an episode out of Father Ted, and I felt like Dougal McGuire. I mean, everything I did was just screwy and wrong. So, but it was sort of interesting. And one of the reasons we did that bottling is the Kilbeggan people said that that cask was quite low, and we might only get 80 or 100 bottles out of it. So we better do something. And we tasted it and thought, okay, this is good enough to bottle. We'll do that. And as we get into it, I'll tell you a little bit of the funny bits getting into it. But we ended up with 217 bottles. So I don't know if we pulled the trigger too soon or not, but it worked out pretty well. But it was an adventure bottling, I must say, because we were fortunate. There's a company in Dunabate called Colt Drinks who offered to do the bottling for us. Easy peasy. Okay, the cask is in Kilbeggan. Can we get it trucked up to Dunabate for bottling? Well, that's not so easy. You got to get a sign off on revenue, so they know they're going to collect their tax at some point. Finally get it up to Dunabate, and they're nice enough to bottle it. But I wanted to go find bottles. I had to buy bottles, and I found a bunch of companies selling bottles. And I said, well, I need maybe 150, 200. We sell in minimums of 1,000. Well, that's a little bit more than I can manage. So we got a bottle, and then we had to I ended up actually having to buy bottles from, we bought bottles from Teeling and Great Northern Distillery. They were kind enough to say, we'll ship you a few bunches of bottles. And then we were doing the bottling up there, and we had corks in the sleeves, and the first cork we put in on top of the bottle, the lid on the sleeve wouldn't shut. But so we get 200 bottles spread out full of stuff and all corked, and it wouldn't do it. So now we had to get new corks, and that was fine. And then the fellow was bottling it for us, and they were great up there, Cold Drinks, and they didn't even charge us for it. But in fact, I talked to some people about, running through a bottling line. They're running thousands. I get 200. I'm not going to get any joy there. But in any event, so then the next funny part was we got labels made. I'll talk about that in a minute. And they're all bottled up in the sleeves, and Cold Drinks says, you're on your own putting labels on. So my wife and I had a lovely evening at home labeling bottles. It was great fun. She's not, why am I doing this? And the label, I'm sure everybody's noticed, was huge controversy. Where'd that go?
The bottle is welcome.
Oh, anyway, huge controversy because if you see, this is the old label here, and the newer labels here with the logo in front. And that was sort of my big ambition, because this thing didn't have a label on it. Our logo on it at all. So I wanted to get our logo front and center. But it was huge controversy to change the label. And that label also, we personalized. The printer was the label printer had the technology. We could put anybody's name on the label. Some people didn't like that. Some people said they bought it only because of that. And, each to their own. That was fine. But in any event, we ended up with a good outing, I think, overall. Let's see if there's anything else. Yeah, the suppliers were good to work with, but as I say, everybody wants to sell in thousands. And I think there might be some extra bottles left over somewhere. I don't know. But probably just still up at Cold Drinks. No, no, I mean empty bottles, empty bottles. But anyway, the labeling was a bit of a controversy. But and also, we took a decision. You might notice this has the highest ABV of anything here at 64%, and we did that on purpose because we had a big discussion about that. Should we bring it down to 40 or something? And the working theory was, popular opinion was, no, leave it high, and people can water it as they see fit. So that was all fine. And I learned a little bit about taxation. It was interesting. The tax that's built into all these prices is based on the ABV. So the higher the ABV, the more tax you pay, but you get fewer bottles. So we could have more bottles if we brought it down. But I thought it was interesting also, just to bore you a little bit, the tax on this thing, we sold it for 55 quid, and or was it the tax and everything on it was, I don't know, that was about 17 quid or something. What was it? I forget. Yeah, that was the tax was about 20 or 30% of the price. But I guess that's the norm for alcoholic beverages. But anyway, I hope you enjoy. I'm not talking about the whiskey too much. You guys can figure that out yourself, but I hope you've enjoyed it. And we had 2 good years there with the Carcavelos, if I'm pronouncing that right, in the 10-year, and then this one. So it was good fun. And I think there's still a few of these bottles in your archive there, a bunch of them. So any questions or
Was it easier to work with Kilbeggan? Is that why they're supposed to work with Kilbeggan for the locks and for the, or is it just?
Well, Kilbeggan, I mean, the casks are sitting where they're sitting. They're spread all. Well, I guess you've consolidated, but even they were sitting in Kilbeggan, and that was easy enough to say send the cask up to Denham. But again, you had to get some kind of a licensed haulier. I forget what that deal was, and there was serious paperwork involved. Like the guys at Dunabate, Cold Drinks had to sign off. They're taking it into bottling, and we'll pay the tax will get paid later. And then when they were bottling up there, I was going to go over one day. I live in Malahide, so I was going to go over to Dunabate when they were starting to bottle, and I called the guy, "Can I pop in and just see how you make it?" Like, no, you can't come. The tax guy was on site inspecting, making sure everything was right. He said, "Don't come now, John. Come tomorrow." So, but they were great about it. But at Kilbeggan, I mean, they were fine. They stored it for us. And if we ever want to do a bottling of our own cask, I have all the notes and tips and tricks. But my best advice would be to call up one of the distillers that we're good friends with and say, "Can you slip this into one of your bottling?" Don't attempt to do it yourself. But it was good fun, good learning experience. And it reminds me of the definition of the word experience. It's what you get just after you needed it. That was the story of my life on that venture. So it was good fun. I enjoyed it, and I think it worked out well. And we have a nice bit of bottling in there. But the taxes were a 17-euro bottle. So, but anyway, that was the outing on that, and I hope you enjoyed it there. So sip away. Don't wait for me. Oh yeah, we got to take this off.
Can't caught in the hot mic.
Great. Yeah, no, I will. Great, thanks very much, everybody. So we've gone through the Lochs Grand Cru, the Carcavelos, and the Kilbeggan. And just to highlight as well, we're just going to take a short break of about 15 minutes. I'm sure you're eager to get into the next 3. But we're going to highlight the Spotlight sample to celebrate Old Carrick's anniversary. They have the very cutely marketed Steve Staunton, so the legend. So it's aged in American bourbon barrels. And I believe there's football stickers dotted around the place in between as well. So, but as well, so that's bottled up. You can taste it now if you want, or to take home. And then, we'll be back in about 15 minutes. So, thanks very much. Yep, sorry, back down here. Welcome back to the second half of our 15th anniversary. Fantastic 15 IWS bottlings. And just before I hand it over to Connor from Pierce Lyons, I wanted to talk about upcoming events. So we have our November mid-month that is on sale, tickets on sale tomorrow. So there is an online element, I think 40 places, and then there's also the in-person element, and that is Wednesday the 13th. I'm looking at my teammates to fact check me. Yes, it is. And it'll be on sale tomorrow at 7 p.m. as well. And that's in Arthur's Pub on the mid-month. And then obviously at the end of November, we have our President's Tasting as well. Yeah, woo! And I think that is Wednesday the 26th, but we will confirm out the dates as well. So, and that's going to be a special one as well. So 27th, Wednesday the 27th. Sorry, don't fact check me. I will send out an email. And then obviously we will be sending notifications of the AGM as well incoming. So really the events team at the minute are really excited about what we're going to plan for 2025. Sorry, 2025. But we'd love to hear your feedback. If there's anything that you would love to see done within the year, like we're working on the schedule at the minute. If there's anything that you really want to kind of have for a tasting, do let us know. events@irishwhiskeysociety.com or info@irishwhiskeysociety.com. Like, we're all open to feedback. If we can do it, we'll do it. Oh yeah, any distillery visits, anything that's kind of coming, we kind of have a couple of things, we'll chat about them at the AGM and things like that. But yeah, feedback welcome. If you have an idea, send it on in. And without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Connor to talk about Pierce Lyons, the cask that Jack built.
Thanks, Annie.
Thank you. It's my own name is Conor Ryan with Pierce Lyons, and it's an absolute privilege to be here tonight. For you guys to be celebrating a 15th anniversary is an amazing testament to the commitment of everybody in this room and the guys who set up the society in the first place. I'm involved in other clubs and whatnot myself, and to keep the momentum and the interest going for that length of time and be such pioneers in the realm of tasting in Ireland is something to be applauded. And I suppose it's down to bringing out and having available to the members these fabulous bottles that you guys constantly bring out. So with the cask that Jack built, we had the opportunity to work with you guys kind of on a one-on-one scenario whereby ye came in to Pierce Lyons for a tasting a couple of years back. We tasted some new make, some of the core range, and then we did 3 cask draws. And the 3 cask draws were of a Calvados finished malt, I remembered a while ago. Calvados finished malt, a rye finished malt, and a virgin oak finished malt. Now, what's unique to the Irish Whiskey Society that I'd say is literally unparalleled globally in a whiskey bottling scenario is this particular single malt was distilled by your president at the time, the venerable Dr. Jack O'Shea. I mean, Jack, who's a very shy and kind of quiet guy in a room, has had an incredible influence on not just the Irish whiskey scene, but on whiskey internationally. He wrote a chapter on literally the alcohol textbook, and like been there, done that, wrote the book. And we were very lucky and fortunate that Jack was our distiller when I'm going to run out just to put a picture up here. Just as the event was just about to start, I realized there was a screen, so I ran out and got my laptop to show you something. And what I suppose is really interesting from our point of view here is, and what we're tasting tonight, is when Pierce Lyons started distilling or came back to distilling back in 2012, a lot of you will know Dr. Lyons' story. When he came back to distilling in 2012, Dr. Jack O'Shea was an operations manager in Alltech, and he was looking for a segue into this world, the whiskey world, and he ended up distilling for us in Carlow. And when I said he's had a massive influence on the whiskey world, even down to where this cask ended up sleeping, I'll tell you about it in a second, he set a whole new tangent for where whiskey was aged in Ireland. So Pierce Lyons was just about to bring over a set of Kentucky Vendome stills. You've all seen the pictures in the beautiful church on St. James's Street. Bring over these beautiful Kentucky Vendome stills, and as they were about to land, the church got turned into a national monument. So Pierce had to look for an alternative location for these stills because he didn't want to lose any time, because unfortunately you can't turn back the clocks at whiskey. You know, it takes time, and you need to be at it for a good. Actually, what date is today?
24.
All right, I should have put another picture up. There's actually, I have a picture on my laptop, but it'll just take too much time to fluff around with it. But there's a picture of Jack standing in front of a cask from the 16th of October, 2012, and it was the first cask that he laid down while he was distilling in Carlow. So the liquid that Pierce Lyons would have would be 12 years old. But when Jack started distilling on the Kentucky Vendome stills in Carlow, they looked a lot different from what you're used to seeing today. These are the same stills that you see on the altar of St. James, and this is them wedged into a maisonette up in O'Hara's I say up because I live in Cork. Down in Carlow, get your geography right, Connor, know your audience. Up in the maisonette in O'Hara's Brewing in Carlow. So Pierce and Seamus knew each other from the Brews and Food fairs. And so the stills that you see today on that beautiful stained glass altar, this is where they lived, and this is where this whiskey was distilled. So when we were in Carlow, we were distilling there for 3 years, 2012, 13, no, it was late in 12, 13 and 14. And Jack was our distiller for the whole time there. And visual evidence of him working. There's our Jack. And I'll tell you who he's with. So obviously that's Jack, Seamus O'Hara, and that's Mark Kaufman, who is our head distiller in Town Branch Distillery over in Lexington in Kentucky. So as I mentioned, the Maisonette, you can see the brewery down here. So yeah, they're the Vendome stills, and that's where we got this. So on that night when you guys were in the distillery, Jack had said to me, you know, it'd be really cool if we could do a single cask with you guys. And I goes, it's not with you guys. I goes, it's practically your whiskey. So it was a fantastic opportunity to be able to do this. And as I said, Irish Whiskey Society is in an amazing, privileged and unique scenario that the president who was in charge when this cask came out was actually the guy who distilled it 9 years, 9 months previously. So it's really cool in that respect. So this whiskey itself was distilled in May 2012, and then it was recast for 5 years in virgin oak. It was kind of an unusual way to do things. Normally, you wouldn't use your virgin oak as your finishing cask, but something I could talk to you about again another time. When I was looking up at the timeline of this cask, after this was decanted, and for the single cask filling, we refilled this cask because it went from virgin, and normally you hear people talking about B1 barrels, first fill bourbon barrels. So I had the absolute pleasure of writing this into our distillery records as an IW1, an Irish whiskey 1, because it was used for Irish whiskey, then it got used for Irish whiskey. And what we filled into this, and it might be something to do in the future with you guys, I'm not here to sell anything, but we filled it with a pot still from one of another hero of Irish whiskey, one of Finnean's found recipes. We filled it with a pot still from Jones Road, or a recreation of a Jones Road recipe, which would be your 10% oat, wheat, and rye is your 30% adjunct. So it's 35% malted, but thirds really, 30, 30, 30, oats, wheat, rye, and then malted, non-malted. So that's actually what went into this cask afterwards. So, and I haven't actually tasted that, so it might be something fun to revisit maybe next year and bring as a cask sample to one of your tastings. This was casked at 59.7, I believe, or 59.1, or 59.1. This was Jack Fill. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I was losing my mind.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I do that all the time. I can't stand still, you know. So this was filled into the bottle at 59.1, but Jack filled all the whiskey in Carlow at 63.5. This is the number he went with. And I suppose what was kind of signature of Jack's whiskey, and I say Jack's whiskey because I found that the spirit from Carlow was kind of, it's meatier. Even though it's the same, it's a single malt wash, it was brewed to 7.5%. We do the exact same here, the same stills. I find that the spirit from Carlow is a little bit meatier, a little bit bolder. Jack used to always take white cuts. We've done it. We take the same cuts. Our spirit just doesn't seem as kind of full body. I suppose this is a kind of spirit that'll age better longer, whereas the distillate from PLD is kind of a bit more lighter and more delicate from the single malt side of things. And when I mentioned about the cask, another interesting tidbit about Jack and his influence in Irish whiskey, he was distilling in Carlow. And at that time, back in 2012, there was only literally a handful of people distilling whiskey. You'd Jameson, Bushmills, Cooley, Kilbeggan, we called them the same, West Cork, and then we were the sixth to appear. So there wasn't a lot of opportunity for putting your casks somewhere. So Jack was, from his operations life previously, working as a European operations manager, he knew Michael Stafford. And he said to Michael, "Hey Mike, I'm up the road, I'm distilling whiskey, you got a warehouse, can you put these casks in your warehouse?" And believe it or not, Michael was like, "I don't know anything about, I don't do this whiskey stuff. I'll look into it and I'll see if we can make it happen." And fast forward 12 years later, like they're the biggest bonder of whiskey in the country, and literally from a simple request from Jack going, "Mike, can I store my casks down with you?" So it's that's kind of a fun story too from that side of things. And just from another thing, I don't know if I mentioned or not, it was all single malt we produced in Carlow. We only went on to pot still when we came into Dublin, just when the stills moved over. So I won't go mad into the tasting notes of this, because the tasting notes that are on the bottle of this are actually your own tasting notes from that night when we had the tasting in Pierce Lines. So if you agree with them or don't agree with them, you can argue with yourselves in the mirror, because I didn't write them this time.
Very good.
Yeah?
Great taste.
So to see if there's anything I wanted to say about it. Yeah, just that it was 9 years, 9 months in the end. And disgorged February 2023. So that's obviously, when it came out then after that. So I'll leave you on that. Sláinte.
And I believe we have Jack watching from online as well.
Oh.
So if we can just go cheers.
Jack is watching from online.
Sláinte, Jack.
And over to Korean then.
Hi, folks. So you're all very welcome. I'm delighted to be here at this tasting and to talk about the bottling that came out last year, this year, under my presidency, and I'm very, very proud of it. And the small contribution I had to it. And Jack O'Shea again was instrumental in the selection of this. Jack being one of the key members of the CAS committee, but Jack, myself, and Liam went to the Ecklinville distillery to look for samples from their warehouse, and had a wonderful day there. It's a phenomenal place. I think we should include that as one of our destinations at some stage, and met with wonderful hospitality by Shane Braniff, who's the owner of Ecklinville Distilleries, who doesn't drink.
It drives a tank.
What?
It drives a tank.
Well, he has legend.
I'll come to that. Doesn't drink alcohol at all, and but owns this phenomenal distillery on a beautiful estate. So we had a number of samples given to us, and we took them home. We tasted them there, and then took them home, and then the CAS committee sort of debated the various the qualities of each one. Included in the selection was where do I have it now? They were all single malts. There was an 11-year-old PX. There was an 11-year-old Palo Cortado. There were two that were much older, finished in Oloroso. Another one finished in PX, and then there was a 17-year-old that had only been in bourbon that needed a finish, and there's here's something that you could then finish, and then there was this one, and this was most definitely a single cask, because it was the only cask of this whiskey that they had in the warehouse, or at least that's what they told us. So the profile of the whiskey itself, it's a single malt that was triple distilled in November 2011. Doesn't say. It spent 8 years, 7 months in ex-bourbon American White Oak cask. It was then transferred into first filled Muscatel cask in 2020, and it spent 3 years, 5 months in that. They had it, and they weren't quite sure what to do with it, because they only had one, and they knew it was really rich. It was destined to be rationed out into Dunville's special releases, or to be used as a component. And when we tasted it, it was amazing, and it was outstanding compared to the other ones that was on the lineup. While there were other ones that were perhaps older and richer, or this one, the fact that it was so unique was something that was really attractive. It finally got bottled, and we managed to get I think it was 134 bottles from the cask. I think it was probably one of the most expensive to date. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was one of the most expensive bottlings for members to date. And there was a lot of debate about that. But we actually had no input into that. We were told, this is a condition. It must be. It cannot be cheaper than this. This is the minimum price that it must be. So that it wasn't cheaper than other Dunville's releases. So it was one of the conditions. We pushed back against it. I pushed back against it because I wanted to keep it economical. And that's why we included extended membership, or with the bottle you would get an extension to your membership. So that would be a sort of a rebate as such on the price that you would pay on the bottle. So when we were there, Jack said, "Can I have a look at the tanks?" And I thought he was talking about like the storage tanks, or the fermentation tanks, or the. No, he was talking about Shane Braniff's collection of tanks. and military equipment and cars and sports cars. And so we went into another warehouse that was just full of vehicles of every description from, I think there were 3 or 4 mint mini cars, literally in a bubble. Each one was in this bubble that had air flowing into it so that it kept it at mint condition. And there was World War II tanks and armored personnel carriers, all of this stuff. And this was like this was a passion of his. It's like, yeah, I've got the distillery, but I really love sort of getting my teeth stuck into a tank and getting that engine working again, finding the part. That was his other hobby. It was fascinating. Motorbikes, everything. So that was another part of the trip.
Cannon. The cannon.
There was a cannon, wasn't
Yeah,
there?
there was the dredge job. I don't know exact, can't remember what conflict it was from. It was dredge job from Stratford Lock, I think, or somewhere.
From Stratford, that's right, yeah. Fascinating
Well,
stuff.
Recovered from the wreck of, I can't read it. Foundered in, sorry, yeah, anyway, I have photos of that. And also the high-end cars there as well.
There was, so I remember taking some notes when tasting it, and it'll be really interesting to compare the notes that I wrote down then with tasting it now and getting your input in terms of what you think. So on the nose, I got citrus, floral, sweet, orange peel, musky. Would you add to that? Or contradict that? Or that's a load of rubbish, Brian? There is no smoked barley in that, as far as I know.
There's something.
It's Bushman, so
But not of the appointed point.
Not oily, no.
We like to find out, sir. Walnuts or anything like that.
And then on the palate, I got very dry, woody, so much fruit, marmalade and citrus.
Yeah.
Oh. I'm still getting the marmalade. I'm still getting the orange peel. And long, dry, fruity finish and spicy.
Bit of grapefruit, like that.
A bit of grapefruit there as well. A bit of grapefruit. So it was really outstanding. It really was outstanding. And then the process of actually getting it into a bottle, getting it labeled, and shipping it out took much longer than we had anticipated. So while it sold out in 3 rounds in November, I think it was.
It's not a riot, right?
Not a riot, thank you. Flashbacks. So I think it was February or March before we actually managed to get it delivered. So there was a longer delay there than anticipated. But I think it's a lovely whiskey, and I hope you enjoy it too. Bon to well.
No, it's amazing. It's oily and dry at the same time. Isn't it?
Thank you. And then we're going to pass over to Liam for the last.
Okay. Thanks, Abby. Okay, I'm going to go over there.
Yeah, perfect.
Matt, I'm going to go over there. I'm going to stand up, yeah. Yeah, I won't, okay, yeah. All right. Okay, I will, keep there. Evening, everybody, thank you for coming. My name is Liam Smith, and we're the last sample. I'm not going to say what it is until you've tried it. I think I might be the only person who's had all 6 before tonight. That's kind of interesting. Although I haven't tried the Stephen Staunton yet. But maybe somebody else has. Sorry, I opened the windows a bit earlier because it was a little bit warm, but we can close them if needs be. So I was just reflecting, even going back even before the beginning of the society, and about the person I'd met first in the room was actually Michael, I think. And that goes back to pre-the society. So actually the Celtic Whisky Shop used to do tastings. So I went to a tasting one night. Actually, my wife saw a bit in the Business Post, I think, said, oh, the Celtic Whisky Shop are doing a tasting of Bowmore. And I said, oh, that sounds nice. So I'll go along to that. So I toddled along to that. And Ken Mulwhiney, as many of you know, was at that as well. And so I was at the table with Michael and Ken and another friend, Michael's. And you remember last month we had the book, the reprint of Maurice Walsh's article on Irish whiskey, and Ken was very instrumental in getting that done. So during that night, one of the things that happened was that we had some very nice Old Bowmore that night, and the taster from Bowmore said, this would go very well dark chocolate. I'm sorry, I forgot to brought some. But luckily enough, I had a bar of dark chocolate with me. And look, I have another bar of dark chocolate tonight, because I always bring one along.
Less than when you
But okay, exactly. So there might be a little bit less if somebody would like some. So anyway, I suppose there's kind of a lot of connections that have started and have gone on for even more than the 15 years that the site has been in place, and I've been lucky enough to have been there from the start.
Are we allowed to guess? Are you going to give us clues?
About this? Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, well, I'll give you a couple of hints. It's whiskey. Yeah. I'll give you another hint. It's Irish whiskey. Yes, it's Irish whiskey. Yes, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
You want something else about that Bowmore tasting?
No, you can if you want.
Sorry, just the Bowmore tasting. It was Bowmore, 3 Bowmore and 3 Suntories,
Yes.
if I remember rightly. And at the end of it, there was only about 35 of us, 30 of us maybe in the room.
Actually, Luke was there as well. Now that I remember. Actually,
And he said, apologies. Sorry, the gentleman, was it David Brooks? No, it wasn't. From Bowmore. Anyways,
Yeah.
he said, I've really enjoyed tonight. Well, I can't do a Scottish accent, thank God. But he said, I happen to have brought a bottle of White Bowmore with me. White Bowmore, 40 years old, 1964. Ali had a bottle or 2 bottles at $4.999 per bottle.
And
So
this is like mid 2000s now.
about 2003, 4, something like that.
Yeah.
And he said, he said, this has been a really lovely evening. You've been really nice. I think we'll have half a bottle. He said, I have 3 bottles to last me the whole of Europe. So we had half a bottle of 1964 White Bowmore.
Yes, that's right. I remember that. I do remember
I
that.
was talking to Gary earlier on and said there are a few bottles that you've had hundreds, but you remember a few, and that's one of the ones I
absolutely.
remember.
Yes, that's right. That was that night. It was, yes. So, thanks, Michael. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. No. This is Irish whiskey, Nick. Irish. You missed that bit. Yeah. Yeah, with an E in it. Yeah. So, this one was an E. Yeah. So, as Gary is here. Gary is the first president, and I think Gary, you probably were involved when the Kilbeggan bottling was. I mean, you might have been present at the time, but when the cask was.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Photographic evidence.
Oh, right, okay, very good, yes. And I would have been on all the stuff with the Grand Cru and later the Premier Cru the following year as well that we had. And so thankfully I still have a little bit of that. So obviously I've been lucky enough to be in the society since the start and to be at most of the tastings. And then a couple of years ago we set up the cask, what's called the Cask and Bottling Advisory Group, I think, technically. And so as well as looking at there's 2 sides to that, because apart from the Kilbeggan, everything we've had tonight hasn't been our own cask. We've dealt with distilleries or bottlers and got bottles from them, so it hasn't been the cask that we owned ourselves. The Kilbeggan we owned ourselves, but we were also involved in purchasing casks and we're trying to arrange for bottlings as well. So the one tonight was one we were thinking about for a bottling, and we were trying to get one done before the end of the year. I think it mightn't be possible logistically to do it for the end of the year, because usually we try a couple and then we pick the best one, but so far we've only tried one from this distillery, and we'd like to maybe compare 2 or 3 and see which one we favour. And Brian has gone into great detail about how the arduous work we had to do to pick the Dunville's bottling we had, and I think it's noted as well. I think that's the very first Dunville's in Moscatel that anybody has issued, I think, as far as I know. Anyway, I don't know, and I think that may be the only cast they had, or certainly there are not many. So we were lucky in that regard as well. And it was one of the reasons we the rarity value did help in that. And again, on this one that you're going to try now, where I'm trying not to say anything about it, just to let people see what people have on it. I actually can't. No, that one I don't know. I do know I can tell you it's pot still. And it's GI compliant pot still in this case, and it's It's 1/3 and 2/3. I'll check. I think it's 1/3 malted and 2/3 raw barley.
So the cross between GI and non-GI?
No. This is fully GI. This is fully GI. Yeah. Yeah. It's all barley. It's all barley. So yeah, and it's over 30.
Small cross.
Oh, are you giving hints now here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't be giving hints.
It's not an old, it's not wildly aged or anything, is it? It's under 10.
It's under 10. Yes, it's under 10. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so far, what do we think? It's all right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Just oak barrels, I guess?
It is. Yes. Yes. It is. It's not virgin. I can say that much. Yeah. And
It's
it
not like finished in sherry or...
nothing like that. No. Any views so far? Generally positive so far? Yeah. Okay. Well, as I say, we did like this, but given that our normal process is to compare a couple and see which one we prefer, we may go back and see. Obviously we have to rely on the goodness of the distiller in that regard as well, in terms of can we try something else, and they've also been good enough to give us enough samples for tonight as well, which is has to be borne in mind too. Any guess as to what part of the country we're talking about?
North?
Yes. Yeah. No, you two be quiet. Yeah. It's in the northern half of the country. Yes. No.
The northern half of the country?
Yes.
Capital city?
Not in the capital city. No.
Is it Irish or is it?
No, it's Irish. It's Irish. Yes, it's Irish. Yes. Yeah. Well, okay. Here's the hint. The name of the brand is an Irish translation of a place name.
Hello?
No.
That's like
No.
the middle of the country.
Yeah.
The buzzer goes off when you get it.
Yeah.
But there are no prices.
No. Okay. It is. I'll say it's 7 years old as well.
It's
Okay.
short.
Yes. Someone said Redemin. Yes. Yeah. It is. It's Redemin. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm calling. Yeah. So this is from the Redemin estate, which is Short Cross, and it's 7-year-old single pot still. It's GI compliant, so it's 1/3. I think it's 1/3 malt, 2/3 unmalted barley, and it's not in bourbon. It's actually in a ex-Jack Daniel's cask. Okay. Yeah. Well, that would. But it's obviously, but it's Tennessee rather than bourbon. So yeah. Different taste. Yeah. Okay. So as I said, you can see obviously we have a hard time in terms of deciding what we're going to do with stuff. But I suppose one of the things we were hoping, well, if you have a view on this, do you like it? Do you not like it at all? What we're hoping to do is maybe try a couple of others to compare and see is this the best that we get from those three. But I think most of us were happy in the committee to say that we would bottle this as it is, and we think maybe as well it might be about ready to go to bottle as well. I don't think it would, it's probably.
Has a good length to finish.
Yeah. Some people actually, there was a few. I can read out some of the more colourful tasting notes we had if I can. Hold on now. Just give me a second. The cask committee more or less exists as a WhatsApp group generally. So, okay.
It's Christmas.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's like warm Christmas. You would have it in a
Okay.
very December, January kind
Okay.
of night.
I think there's a sort of I think a light house style with Short Cross for me anyway. I think, so I think this is from Willie Murphy actually, who again is another old friend society and a long-standing member. It's a right little challenging whiskey. It's a kind of spice bag. There's a little of everything in it. I expected toffee and a dime bar from the nose, but got way more savoury taste than I expected. Hints of lime and menthol on the finish too. I went to nose the empty glass later and it's a giver. Not a note you'd ever see in a textbook, but if you've ever smelt a cow's breath when it's chewing the cud, you get it.
Wait. Say that again.
If you ever smelt a cow's breath when it's chewing the cud.
That's a new one.
You okay? Yep. And actually, sorry, it's actually the other way around on the. Yeah. It's actually the other way around than I said. It's actually 1/3 unmalted and 2/3 malted barley. So it's quite a high malt content on the pot still.
And no edges, no.
No, it's all barley in this case. Yep.
After adding water, it's still spicy.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
doesn't lose.
No. Yeah.
Normally
Yeah.
it gets softer, sweeter.
Yeah. This is cask strength, so I'm not sure exactly what the ABV is. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else? Any of their views? No. Okay. 7. Yeah, and I think it's pretty much ready. I think it's about ready for bottling. I think if we pick this one, Jack Daniels, ex-Jack Daniels cask. So not bourbon, it's Tennessee essentially. Yeah. Pardon? Full Tennessee. Yeah. yeah. So yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cork is Alba though, I think so. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, listen. I hope you've all enjoyed that, and hope you enjoyed the evening as well. And it'd be great to have at least 15. Sorry, Aidan. Yeah, sorry. Yes.
Coming back to Carol's point earlier on. Sorry, guys. Just an answer to your question there earlier on. The ABV was a tad under 60%.
Was it? Okay. Yeah. Okay. I didn't have that record. Thanks, Aidan. Cheers. Thank you. Okay. And as I say, a lot of the good things about the society is about conviviality and connections and so on. So it looks like hopefully we'll have another 15 plus years of that here. And anyway, sunshine, good health for you all. Take care.
Great, thanks very much. And I am going to hand over to Brian to chat about the President's tasting a little more in detail.
Thanks a lot, Ali. So I just want to give some details on the President's tasting, which will be on Wednesday, November the 27th. A riot is not planned that night. That I know about. But it will be great fun. So we're not going to be here. It took a long time. Believe me, it took a really long time to sort the venue out. And just yesterday, I got to do a recce of the venue with some other folks that are involved in it. So we are going to be in Bow Street. IDL are hosting us in Bow Street. So we have the Jameson experience for the evening. We're going to have people on site, and then there's also going to be the opportunity to join in online as well. It's going to be presented by Eric Ryan, the head distiller and master of maturation in IDL, and also Andrew Dickey, who is the prestige brand ambassador for Midleton. So it's going to be. Let me put. I know what some of the lineup's going to be. So there are 2 of the 6, maybe 7. 2 of the 6 whiskies that have been confirmed so far have been commercially released. 4 have not been commercially released. In fact, they're going to be components or cask draws from Midleton, and I know that they're going to be spectacular. It's going to be in Midleton. They've been very generous and very accommodating. There is also going to be a charity element to it. So profits from the event will go to the homeless shelter, which is just around the corner, the Capuchin Day Centre, just around the corner. So it's just around from Bow Street. So I don't know if you've ever been down there during the day and you see the queue of people outside waiting to get in. It's very sobering. It really is. And the fact that it's so close to where we're going to be, and it's a while since the society has done a charity event. So there will be a charity element to it. There is always huge demand for the tickets, and it's nuts. I know it's nuts, and I think we had problems with the website last year. So what I'm proposing to do is that we have a ballot, and the tickets are picked. So you register your interest. Do you want to be in person? Do you want to be online? You register your interest, and then we do a random draw from those for people that are going to be either online or in person. I think that's the fairest way for people to get a ticket.
Like the lady with the lot of. Like the lady with the lot of.
So the capacity is going to be about. That's a good question. We're looking at about 110 in total.
Including online.
So that's including the online people as well. So it's probably going to be about 60 to 65 in person, and then the rest online. So we will have. So, like I say, I was in Bow Street yesterday with the audiovisual team that are going to put this on air for us or stream it for us. Sorry, Matt, but it's going to be a 3-camera shoot, and they did a trial version for us some months back, and they're going to be. We thought since it's going to be a high-profile prestige event, we really wanted to pull out all the stops and make sure that those at home got the full experience. So, like I say, I know there's going to be 2 commercially released top-end Middleton. That narrows it down on the slate, and then 4 cast draws. So it's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. We wanted it to be brilliant, and I'm confident that it's going to be brilliant. And IDL are fully on board, and Eric and Andrew are looking forward to it as well. So looking forward to seeing you there. Are we done? Is that it? I think that's it. Okay, listen. Thanks to all of you at home for being here. Thanks to all of you for being here and for your continued support of the society. It's brilliant that it's 15 years on the go, and here's to another 15 years. 15 more. So, come on. Take care. Come on.
Now, how do I? Oh, there.